Welcome to the 15 Minutes with a Farmer podcast from Successful Farming. I'm your host, Lisa Faust-Prater.
I knew I wanted to be a farmer my whole life. I am the fourth generation.
My guest today is Todd Hanten from Goodwin, South Dakota. We met up at Commodity Classic to talk about the value of quality employees, how diversification and efficiency play a role in Hanten's bottom line, and the former president who signed his homesteading great-grandfather's deed. In each episode, I have a quick 15-minute conversation with a farmer to hear their story and share their experience, expertise, and life lessons. Todd, thank you so much for joining me for 15 Minutes with a Farmer.
You're welcome. I'm pleasure to do it.
Well, why don't we start off, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your operation there in South Dakota.
Yep, I'm Todd Hanten. I'm a fourth generation farmer from northeastern South Dakota. I farm with my wife. Both of my kids have off-farm jobs, but they do come and help me as much as they can. And we're looking forward to getting them back to the farm full-time if they choose to.
Well, that's wonderful. It's nice when you can do that, when you can bring your kids back, because it's a tough thing when you're adding a person to your operation who has a family to support. Then you have to look at ways to maybe expand your business or do some things differently.
Yes, yeah, that is what we have already talked about. Is if my son came back, maybe we would put up a hog barn or add to our feedlot operation. We would have to find a way to do a little more to make it work correctly, but because I'm not ready to retire yet,
Yeah.
I probably won't retire for quite a while, and we'll transition into that, and then eventually I'll fade away into the sunset.
Oh. So tell us about your livestock and the crops and all the things that you're doing up there.
Okay, so yeah, we got corn, soybeans, spring wheat, and a cattle feedlot. We used to dairy and milk cows until 2012. That time, my kids were both in college. My son didn't appreciate that much. I sold those cows after he left home and had helped for many years. But I asked him, we had to either get bigger and expand and build new, or we had to exit. And I asked both kids if they were going to come back to the farm, and they said they both might, but they weren't going to dairy. So we left the dairy industry and started running more cattle in those dairy barns as feedlot operation, and we have increased our acres as well since then. The dairy was very labor intense, and I couldn't do any of these jobs that I am able to do now. So I'm on the United Soybean Board and just got on the executive committee, and,
Nice.
and I'm excited about it and excited to be able to put some time in and do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And dairying is such a labor-intensive endeavor, and it never, there's no off day or off season. You're always at it with dairy. We sort of did the same thing with our beef cattle, but when our kids graduated and left for college, we got out of it too.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't miss, the thought of having to bust ice myself in the winter with my boys gone. So
Yes.
Do what you have to do.
Yes, for sure. And, that we are so fortunate to have a couple of employees that have been with me over 30 years. And I think they kind of enjoy it when I'm gone and they get to run things for a while. And they are excellent. But if something happened to one of those, or they decided to do something different, it would be totally different for me in a hurry.
Yeah.
That's why I'm hoping to get one of the kids or both back to the farm and have them there.
Well, having employees that you can trust to run things while you're away is huge.
Yes.
Especially when you're traveling with the board or doing, those other things. How did you go about, finding those good employees, and how do you hang on to them? It's a tough labor market.
That's for sure. Both of my employees, came from farms, and they were young when they started, and they love farming. On the weekends, they're driving around looking at fields, and everything is ours. When they talk about something, a tractor or the cattle or something we've done, look what we did, or this is ours, or we should do that, and we're family. These guys are 30 years, so they're like family. My wife makes dinner for all of us at noon, and my mom before me did that. We had employees then, and my mom made dinner for my dad, myself, and a couple of employees always at noon every day. And so we are like family. These guys have been there 30 years and love farming as much as they do. I don't even have to tell them much. They know what needs to be done, and they want to do it, and they have great pride in what we do as a team, and that makes me feel awful good too.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing that they feel that sense of ownership and, loyalty. So that's awesome. Yeah, it can be finding employees is really a tough thing. So it's great that you've got those long-termers
Yes.
working with you.
Yes, for sure.
So tell me about your growing up. Is this something that you always knew you would want to take over someday?
It is. Yep, I knew I wanted to be a farmer my whole life. I am the fourth generation. We still have the deed that Grover Cleveland signed in 1893 above our fireplace when my great-grandfather Albert was homesteaded that quarter. We still live on that quarter, and the old shanty is still there. We have an employee living in that, and we have another house on the farm, same farm. So we live and operate the same 160 acres that my great-grandfather did, and we're very proud of that and think it's very cool. And even my kids, they're not real involved in the farm, but I've heard them mention that to other people their age, and so they obviously think that it's a big deal. And I knew I wanted to be a farmer. I loved it growing up. When you get to work with your grandpa and your dad, and my dad there can't be any better dad out there. We just got along great. We talked daily. We worked together side by side, did the hard jobs, did some fun things, but we didn't hunt, we didn't fish. We mostly worked, and the dairy was an important operation and a hard operation. But I went to Votech school so that I could still work at the farm and live at home, and got a 2-year degree in egg production, and then stayed at home. And my biggest regret, though, is that I didn't go to college. And I told both of my kids all along, I would like you to go to college. I'll pay for 2 years, and then after that, you guys decide how many more you want to go, and you pay for it, because it is my biggest regret. And they both did. And then I also wanted them to work for at least 2 years off the farm if they did come back. They both did that, and then decided that they like what they're doing. My son's with Farm Credit, so he's in the egg industry.
Oh, nice.
And my daughter's a math teacher, and something that she always knew and always wanted to do.
Oh, that's amazing. Let's talk for a minute about homesteaders. This is something that's always been fascinating to me. And having lived on the other side of the state in Northwest South Dakota when I was a kid, we would, we had relatives who were on their property that was homesteaded. I've interviewed a lot of farmers up there who, the same thing, they're on the homesteaded property. Man, those were tough people, weren't they? Isn't that just incredible?
I can't imagine, and I'm so proud. I would love to be able to meet my great-grandfather and show him what we have and what we've done. I think I know he'd be so proud, and it would just be cool for him to see what's going on with the Hanten homestead. We still have pictures of the old homestead where there were no trees, just that shanty, another barn, and some horses. And then we took a similar picture of the farmhouse, the old farmhouse that's been built onto, and with our biggest, nicest tractor there, and did kind of a similar shot with all the trees and all the buildings and bins that we have now. And
I love that. That's amazing. They just made people tougher then, I think. You come to that part of the country and it's just like sod. And you have to grow a crop there. I just can't even imagine the physical work and just how incredibly hard that must have been. It just blows my mind to think about.
It is. It's something, there were many that didn't make it, and that's because it was not easy, and there were tough times and good times and tough weather in South Dakota to this date, and it was worse then, and they didn't have the tractors and snow blowers and all the things
they
that
didn't have a cab.
Yes.
Let alone a tractor.
Yes. So yes, hats off to those people, and thank you, great grandpa, because I'm so happy to be doing what I am today, and it was because of his determination and ethics that got us here.
Oh, that's amazing. So not only are you growing crops, you have a feedlot, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that and how that just plays into your whole operation.
Yeah, well, we haul corn to the ethanol plant and sell it to them, and then we turn around and go over to the distiller's grain bin and haul feed back to our operation for the feedlot. The same on the soybeans. We haul soybeans right to a processor about 45 miles away, and we turn around and get in line and bring soybean meal right back to our operation.
That's perfect.
And we did that in the dairy before, and we still do that in the cattle feedlot. And we actually also haul spring wheat all the way to Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is a couple hundred miles away, and sell it to the millers there directly, and then bring a lot of different byproducts back from the cities, everything from bakery waste to corn hulls to soy hulls to many different choices there in the Minneapolis area that we can then bring right back to our operation and use on the feedlot. So we're not wasting very much fuel. We're doing a lot of very efficient things, and I'm just happy to be able to go to the ethanol plant and get my corn used for ethanol, and then bring home a product that I can feed to my cattle, and the whole life cycle of the farm. Then those cattle manure goes out on our wheat acres, and our wheat acres produce the wheat, but also the straw that we use for feed and bedding to those animals. So when we return the manure, what we took away, we put back, and we don't have to use very much commercial fertilizer because of that. So I always call it kind of the life cycle of the farm. And
it really is. Yeah. It's a full circle sort of situation, and so efficient, you know. And that just became, that's so interesting, how just to think about how it really hasn't been going on that long, where farmers were getting those distillers grains or those byproducts and bringing them back and feeding their animals. And I mean, what a just smart thing. I love it that we're doing that now.
Yes, for sure. And it was done, but those ethanol plant started up in my area, and so they're closer where I can do it. Before, I'd have to hire somebody to truck it in, and there wasn't the premium to the ethanol market. Makes a premium for my price, so it's a win-win all the way around.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm so happy, and right now beef cattle prices are very good, and the cow-calf guys are having their turn. They're having really good times right now. As a feedlot producer, it's tough to purchase them, a lot more money than we're used to borrowing, and the interest rate is up. But it's been working, and it's been that we can make a profit. And it's again another way for me to market my corn. I produce high moisture corn. We take it wet, and then we do a lot of processing to that, and then pack it in a bunker silo. And so right now, when the corn prices have dropped back a little bit, it's not so bad that I have a bunch of that wet and can feed it to my cattle, and improve the profitability of the corn actually by running it through the livestock.
That's amazing. And I mean, it really is all about just like adding value and that profitability. And it's great that you have the cattle too, because then you have sort of not all your eggs in one basket. If corn prices and soybean prices are low, you have those cattle to maybe help out. So that's the great thing about a more diversified sort of operation,
For sure.
You don't have all your eggs in one basket, I guess.
For sure. Yeah. Yep. And it was that way with the dairy, and now with the beef cattle. And if my son comes home, that's what I would want to do, a hog barn or some more diversification.
Yeah. And you could use those resources that you already have to, to expand. So that's ideal.
Yes.
Ideal. Yep. So tell me about your work with the Soybean Board and how you kind of got into that and what you're doing for them.
So my wife and I were young leaders in 1996, right after the infamous Christy Nome. She was a young leader for the South Dakota soybean the year before I was, and we got that award, and we're very thrilled. One of the things they asked us in the interview, though, was, if you get this, would you be willing to serve on the board and do some board work? And I said, I know it's a year we're supposed to, then I have to run. I said, I would not be right away. We're dairy farming, and I am too busy, and we've got young kids. I just can't at this time. But someday, yes, I definitely will and would like to. And that time came then when the kids got out of high school and my parents were in good health, and I've got these great employees. As soon as that all kind of happened and we quit the dairy business, then I ran for the South Dakota Soybean Association Board. I was on that for 3.5 years. And then the opportunity came up to run for the South Dakota Soybean Council from our district. So I decided I wanted to go there and be more involved with the research and promotion. I've always been kind of a promoter. When we were in the dairy business, my mom was on the Midwest Dairy Association Board, checkoff board. We've always been a believer in checkoffs in our family forever, that the money does great things that we could never do as one person or one farmer out here. Collectively, we can really make a difference with those checkoff dollars. Yep, ran for the board, and then from there got on to the South Dakota board, and now I'm on the United Soybean Board, and that's our national checkoff organization. And I'm in my 5th year, and I just got elected to the executive committee, which I'm very happy and proud of to be voted by my peers to be one of 10 on that executive committee from the 78 board member.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, working on a board like that is such a great way to kind of pay it forward and help out, beginning farmers and those who are just kind of getting their feet wet. It's such a great resource for those farmers and for the industry as a whole. I mean, it's just such an important thing you're doing, and a great way to support the industry as a whole and soybeans in particular.
It is. It's we call it the soy family, and the American Soybean Association is important with the policy and the things that they do, and our checkoff can do all the education, promotion, and research. And we don't get paid anything for it, and so you have to be able to do it, and not everybody can. So we get out here and do the best we can. And if somebody ever has questions or ideas for me, I'm always available. Give me a call. I'd love to hear them and love to have a visit.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, it's been so much fun to talk to you today, and I always, I have a special place in my heart for South Dakota. So I'm always super happy to talk to South Dakota folks. But yeah, congratulations on all your success and the board, and I look forward to seeing what's next for you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to meet another South Dakotan. Always, we're always good people, I feel, and I appreciate what you do as well. The ag advocacy on the radio and media is definitely something we need, and really appreciate what you guys do as well.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Open the latest issue of Successful Farming and visit us online at agriculture.com for more interesting features and news for your farm. Join me next week for another episode of 15 Minutes with a Farmer.